So welcome to your Mets update for June 17, 2016. This is my second update. The last one was May 12th. And unfortunately, I predicted some things accurately. I talked about the Mets' inept offense and their flawed lineup. And now, as we stand now today, June 17th, it's come to fruition, especially now with the injury to David Wright, who's out for the year. He's getting surgery. He has a herniated disc in his neck. That's another thing I talked about on the last update was how much David Wright had left in the tank. You know, he's not the same player as he once was. He's not an all-star anymore. He came back from back surgery last year. He's a trooper. We got to give him that. We've always known David to be a hard worker, and he's dedicated, and he loves being a New York Met. But sometimes you can't beat Mother Nature for all the time. But anyway, these are things. I mean, it's not because I'm a genius or anything or an expert. These are just things that are really glaring with the Mets. I mean, we talked about last year that this is the same, pretty much the same team from 2015 before Cespedes got here last year around July. And in the last update, I kept using that word lightning in a bottle. And Cespedes came in here and he had an MVP second half. I mean, the guy went nuts, carried the team all the way to the playoffs. And we came a couple inches away from a championship. But now, as we sit here, the Nationals are starting to pull away. They're in first place. They at 42-25. They lead the Mets by 5 games. I mean, 10 days ago it was a game and a half lead, you know, and then the Nationals aren't going anywhere. And this is really, really not a good sign because if I'm the Mets, I want to win the division. I don't want to risk the season to a one-game wild card or a wild card series and hoping I could get further into the postseason. I mean, as it stands now, the 3 division leaders are the Cubs, the Nationals, and the Giants out west, and the wild card teams are the Mets and the Cardinals, with the Marlins trailing behind them. I mean, this is a weak National League, but you have teams like the Dodgers and the Pirates who are in the hunt, who could get hot. Any team that gets hot could come in and steal it. I mean, and with the Mets, with their offense being so terrible, I mean, nothing is a guarantee. And who's to say that there won't be any more injuries? And if Cespedes gets hurt, you could throw the towel in. The year's over. But right now, of course, the Mets are getting carried by their starting pitching, and that's another thing I talked about last time. It's these little miracles that the Mets pull off every time they seem to win. And Bartolo Colon, the guy's like, what, 43? He's having a great year, 43. But could you rely on him? No. Matt Harvey seems to have rebounded so far after the awful first 2 months of the season. But I think that was related to his procedure during spring training. But let's take a look. The Mets in the National League, I talked about this last time, their flawed lineup. They have no leadoff hitter. Curtis Granderson is their leadoff hitter. Who he should be a number 6 hitter. I'm going to look up the stats here. The National League team stats. The Mets have a horrific average. They're almost next to last with a 237 batting average. Only 3 teams are hitting lower than them. Atlanta, the Dodgers, and Philadelphia. I mean, the Mets can't, even with Cespedes in the lineup, can't buy a run lately. And let's not fool ourselves. Uh, the Mets recently beat up the Pirates a little bit. Listen, that's fool's gold. Even a bad lineup is gonna take advantage of bad pitching. You would hope during the regular season, but what happens when they face the strong teams like the Cubs and the Cardinals and the Giants? They'll be lucky to score 2 runs, and you can't keep putting the pressure on the pitching staff, the starters. They're going to have to pitch a shutout just to stay in the game. It's too much to ask. I mean, I talked about last time. They rely on it. They're built as a 3-run homer team. They're hitting home runs, but there's usually nobody on base. They're second in the National League in home runs, behind the Nationals. But you look at their RBIs. Again, they're 13th, next to last. So that tells you they're hitting a lot of solo home runs because they have nobody that gets on base. They have no scrappy table setters. They're a team built with a bunch of 4, 5, and 6 hitters. You got Granderson leading off. He's hitting 229. His on base is terrible for a leadoff hitter. His on base percentage. He's 320 on base percentage for a leadoff hitter. But right now, the Mets their hands are tied right now. You know, I have confidence in Sandy Alderson, but we have to remember he can't just go and spend the Wilpons' money. They're always on a budget, not because they're cheap. Maybe some fans will accuse them of being cheap. I don't think so. Not all the time, anyway. I think they're just very careful how they spend their money. They just don't want to throw away money, and I don't blame them. And you say, oh, well, how come they didn't sign Daniel Murphy? He's leading the National League in batting average. Well, that's hindsight now. Daniel Murphy was never an offensive beast like he showed in last year's postseason and like he's showing now. He's peaking right now as far as a hitter. But Daniel Murphy, he's not. He could hit. That's all. He's a hitter. He can't field. He's a liability in the field. I got to say this all the time. But that's no concern of ours right now. He's gone. So what did the Mets do last week? They got Kelly Johnson in the trade from Atlanta, and all the fans, of course, it's expected that they groaned. But right now, it's hard to make a trade right now. The trading deadline's the 31st of July. It's about 5-6 weeks away. Teams right now don't know if they're buyers or sellers. And first it was Duda who went out. Now it's Wright. Now there's grumblings. Lagares is going to be out. It's going to get tough. There's no doubt they're going to, if they have any aspirations of making the playoffs and going far, they're going to have to go out and get somebody. And it's going to cost them because, hey, you don't think other teams know the Mets are desperate? It's going to be a poker game. Demand and supply and demand. Now, the Post, there was an article in the Post about that last week that the Mets reached out to the Oakland Athletics, Billy Beane, for Danny Valencia. Is that his name? it's a start. But again, he's not coming cheap. And right now, the Oakland don't know if they're buyers or sellers. So this is going to be a rough month, a rough next few weeks, and maybe they'll help us coming. Uh, there's another report. Uh, Cuban infielder Yulesky Guerrero. He's just declared free agency. He's a Cuban free agent. I like Cuban players. Most of them, most hitters who come from Cuba, they always transition well to the major leagues. Those guys could hit, and but he's not coming cheap. They're reporting there's already a bidding war for him between the Yankees. Who did they say? The Dodgers. And several other teams. So again, like I just said before, the Wilpons aren't going to just go out and spend their money, throw away their money. I mean, if they get just the bidding rights just to sign him, he's not going to come cheap. So the other options are that the Mets could go in-house and bring up players. The Post suggested bringing up player Brandon Nemo. He's an outfielder, but I mean anybody right now can help. Anybody's got to be an improvement. And if the Mets maybe again, hopefully somebody could get hot. It's just they have nobody, and they relied on Michael Conforto, a rookie. They were batting him in the 3-hole early in the year, and I said you cannot pin your hopes on a young player to carry your offense. Only very, very rarely can you do that with players who are just enormously talented. And I'm talking about Hall of Famers. And even them, they take a few years to start carrying teams. Barry Bonds didn't carry the load for the Pirates when he was a rookie, or even his second year. He struggled. He was a 260 hitter. And Conforto now he's batting 6th tonight. He's batting 235 for the year. Everybody just either they can't buy a hit or they can't get on base. They're hitting solo home runs. But they have to make a move very, very soon. Otherwise, if they start slipping behind the wild card, you don't want to play catch up. There's about 4, 5, 6 teams that can make the wild card, and you don't want to start making slipping back and playing catch up. It's tough. But anyway, I'll have another update in a few weeks, or if anything major happens. Take care.